And welcome back. Joining us this morning in person is none other than the Prime Minister of Belize, the Honorable John Briceno. He is here to discuss a number of topics that are pertinent to the national discourse at the moment. With that, I want to say good morning, PM Briceno.
Good morning, Isanipa. Good morning. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys and open your eyes. As I was just mentioning to your producer, it's a pleasure, but it's not a pleasure waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, considering that you go to sleep at midnight.
Right.
But we're good. But again, gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me.
PM, we have you on the heels of some significant and notable developments over the past week. And perhaps it's the right time for us to be able to expand on some of the conversations that have been in the public dialogue, so to speak. The first thing that I want to raise with you is the issue of the 11th Amendment and how it concluded on Friday. I know that the initial motion was revisited, and this was somewhat a point of contention. We were waiting to see where we're going with this, and then it comes down Friday evening that it has been removed from the table. Kindly apprise us as to what took place there, and perhaps if this will be revisited at some other point in time.
Well, it was not removed. It just stayed in the committee of the whole. And as I think Minister Osha made I think he made a good presentation in explaining the 11th Amendment. A lot of people have honed into this is about just Shine Barrow and the leader of the opposition. But I think the leader of the opposition is taking himself too serious. It's not just about him. It's not about him. I think that the framers of the Constitution, as the Minister Osha pointed out, made an oversight. We either fix it or take it out from the Constitution. Because the way it's set up in the Constitution, it states that if you commit a crime in Belize, if you commit a crime in the Commonwealth, say like in Jamaica or Grenada, Trinidad, Australia, Canada, you can never run. Sorry. You can never run for electoral politics here in Belize. But you can go walk right across the border in Chitabal and commit a crime and assault somebody. You go to jail or in Melchor, but yet you could still run in Belize. So obviously there's a level of high discrimination. So we either take it out completely out that anybody could run. You could go and kill 50 people and still run to represent the people of Belize, or following up what the framers of the Constitution were attempting to do, to fix it. So that's what we were trying to do, attempting to fix it, but it goes beyond that. That back then, again, the framers of the Constitution were not taking into consideration the aspect of corruption in public life. We have passed a number of pieces of legislation, including the unjust enrichment in public life. All of that also now needs to be reflected in the Constitution. So we have been attempting to fix that. So the amendment is not only about criminal offenses, but also about corruption in public life. So we are embedding it into the Constitution. Now some may say that, well, you appointed the People's Constitutional Commission, and rightly so, but this process started before then. And there's been a lot of discussion in cabinet, and among our colleagues as to whether we should finish it or not. And again, we said, okay, let's debate it. And so we brought it up to the House meeting for debate. And then it is after debate when we went to the Committee of the Whole, then it's felt that, okay, let's pause again, let's hit the pause button again, and let's walk this through. So that's basically what has happened.
How do you respond to the notion that it may have been a political ploy, so to speak, in terms of being able to equally respond to Mr. Barrow's no confidence motion. Some people are saying that perhaps this is how the ruling party, the government of the day, responds to this action, this proposed action that would have been taken by the leader of the opposition.
I can't even laugh at it. I would smile at it. Because, again, the leader is just trying to attract attention. He knows that call vote of no confidence will go nowhere. He has only 5 out of 31. But of the 5, only 3 showed up. I'm told one was logged in for a while. And then of the 3, when it was time to vote, which is what counts, to vote, only 2 of them voted. Not even his aunt, went to support him. So really, it's not here or there, and I know that his answer or the level of disrespect to the Speaker of the House, I think what has come to a new low from the leader of the opposition. Whenever you think he can't go any lower, he continues to surprise you or shock you that he goes even lower. The way he responded to the Speaker as waste of time and a political hack, things that you do not do. I mean, Miss Langsford, everybody knew who Miss Langsford is, her political, or how she is politically, and we not once accused her. There are many, 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 many times she ruled against us, and we felt that it was unfair, but we respected her decision. She is the Speaker, and that's what it seems that the leader of the opposition does not understand. And most importantly is that what the leader of the opposition refuses to understand, that the standing orders are very clear on how you can write your call for a vote of no confidence. And she pointed out, she went to great lengths. I was pleasantly surprised that she actually took the time to not only look at the standing orders, but look at what they call the Bible for parliamentary procedure, which is Erskine May, to point out to him in all the areas that he was wrong. And if he wanted to get it right, all he had to do is look at the one that I did, cut and paste, and pretty much use the same, but he is just trying to make a point. I don't know what's the point, actually. He's just backfiring against him.
So take us to this, PM. Last week, you had your weekly cabinet meeting, and perhaps at the end of that meeting, you collectively took a picture where your colleague cabinet ministers stood firmly in support of
and the representatives and senators,
yes.
Everybody.
And then you look at all the releases and all the statements that came from various arms of the People's United Party, which some people would equally argue that it may have been a tad too much in terms of responding. Because if you're looking at numbers, and if you say you have 26 and he has 5, or maybe even 3, then
2.
Was it 2? Fair. Was it entirely necessary for this sort of overwhelming show of support on your part?
Absolutely not. First of all, I didn't ask for it. I mean, even in cabinet when we were discussing it, at one time this cabinet secretary accused me of being a poor poker player because I'm uncomfortable speaking about myself.
And the CABSEC is your good friend, brother.
And he's my very, very close friend, like family. But it is the cabinet members and then the parliamentarians said that, well, we want to show that we support you. We want to make that distinction or make it clear the difference between the People's United Party and the United Democratic Party. The United Democratic Party is a divided and broken party. And here we are, we're still united and strong. So it was very important for our colleagues. I said it is important for us to show that they support me, that it's unquestionable, the support that they did. And once that was done, members in the party said, well, we want to also say that we also support you. And then the different arms of the party started saying, well, we support our party leader. So it is normal, there are these circumstances for something like this to happen. Here's a party that is united and strong and working and making lives better for Belizean people. And here's the UDP that they're divided. It's a broken party. They continue to fight with one another. They continue to just coming up with no plans, what is it that they're going to stand about more than just trying to accuse when look at their record for the past 13 years. So that is what we want to make, that distinction between the two parties. And I think it was accomplished.
What becomes of the no confidence motion that was struck out? Is it that the leader of the opposition can then return with an amended no confidence motion?
Yes, and Madam Speaker pointed it out that he can, provided that he follows the standing orders. All he needs to do is follow the standing orders.
One of the grounds within the no confidence motion that the leader of the opposition presented is, and we'll get a bit into it now, is your government's economic performance. And I know it's one of those topics that you are proud of discussing. But PM, let's look at let's look at some of the realities on the grounds apart from what's on the black and white, right? What's on the sheet when we're talking about the price of goods in certain stores, when we're talking about inflation in
overall
certain aspects, just the overall cost of living, while we see that inflation may have gone down a tad bit, and there's information in the fact sheet that unemployment is at an all-time low, the reality on the ground seems to be that the overall cost of living is at an all-time high. How do you respond to that?
I don't think it's that. Okay, let me start out by first stating that we understand the issue of the overall cost of living. We understand that it is that a lot of Belizeans are going, that it is creating difficulties in the lives of everybody. We understand that. It is something that's happening not only in Belize, in the United States, in Mexico, anywhere around us in Central America, in the Caribbean, across the entire world, it is happening. But one thing that you cannot do is you cannot accuse the government of not trying to do something about it. I can remember from over a year ago, many instances, Anthony Mala actually brings the products to the office to say, let's look at what's happening here. And we've been having these discussions back and forth as to what is it that we can do. Well, one of the first things we decided we can do is to raise the minimum wage. By raising the minimum wage, we immediately affected positively the lives of over 30,000 plus workers in this country. And I know the Chamber of Commerce was against it and say, oh, that people are going to get fired and that we should do it in phases. But people, they were having a difficult time because of inflation. Mm-hmm. So we did that immediately. We have not raised tax on a single item to say that, oh, the government is taxing it. It has nothing to do with us. It is, as I said over and over, this is imported. Many of our food items are next to zero rated, many of them. So we've been having this discussion back and forth. We've even met this with the unions. We've discussed this with the chamber before. We've discussed this with importers. We've discussed this with retailers. We're trying to find how or what can be done. The unions, the public service union has been very helpful. They're saying, listen, we're prepared to help you police because we don't have enough. The truth of the fact is that goods, yes, are going up internationally, but also there are some unscrupulous business people that take advantage of that. And so Minister Baleramos, our technical people, what they did, they interviewed several families as to what is it that you go to buy every week? And so they came up with a list of about 40 items. And so she said, listen, this is what people buy every week or on a regular basis. And so we felt, all right, let's see how we could control this. So we put that list out. Now, we still have to fine-tune how it will be able to work. For instance, I met with Santi Castillo and Luisa Santos. And they were telling us, you have cornflakes here, but you have about 30 different types of cornflakes. So how is it that we can decide which cornflakes? So these are little things that we have to be working with.
Yeah.
I promised her that I'm going to have the minister to arrange a meeting with our technical people and people like some of the bigger importers like Sancas and Brody's, Price and Company, probably Nando's, a few more, that we can go through the list and to see how it could be implemented. Because you have the companies that are that are good corporate citizens that want to help. But they are making the point too that things have really gone up. We say, for instance, they say a jar of mayonnaise has gone up by 150%. So there are some items now that they were in their lines that they represented, and they have dropped it because it's gone up so high. People are not going to buy it. So we have been doing something. We have been working, but we do understand. But the most important thing, Paul, what we need to look at is that when we came into government, unemployment was at over 30%. Unemployment was over 30%. Right now, all of that has gone down to a record low of under 3%. So a lot more people are working. Listen, you go walk around Belize City and you will be amazed at the amount of houses that you see people are building or expanding, they're fixing their houses or doing something to it. You'd be amazed at the amount of investments that you're seeing across in Belize City and across this entire country. So we are moving this country forward. Yes, the issue of inflation continues to be a problem, it continues to be a challenge, but we are doing as best as we possibly can.
PM, allow me to jump in here quickly. I know that under your administration, price gouging task force or committee was set up as well. I haven't heard much from that group by way of its effectiveness, but it's in line with you mentioning that, you know, your government is trying everything that it can to be able to curtail or taper this particular situation. But nonetheless, it sends a sort of a shock when you hear places like Augusto Kwan, places like Bottom Dollar, you know, and perhaps that's not even the small mom and pops that are closing down that we don't hear about. All of this sends sort of like a shudder that, you know what, perhaps things aren't as good as we're painting it to be in terms of the economic picture. How does one respond to that?
But I would challenge you on that, Isani. Have you gone to the other supermarkets and seen the amount of people buying there? What has happened is that the purchasing patterns have changed. If you remember growing up, Isani, no, you never grew up in, no, grew up in Belize City. Neither myself. You grew up in Belize City, all right. I did not grow up in Belize City. But growing up, when you make on a Belize City on a Saturday, your big thing is that you're going down Albert Street. Because all of the action, everybody out there shopping. Everybody was out there shopping. You go there on a Saturday and see how much people are out there shopping. See how much people are out there during the week shopping in those areas and for grocery stores. People are now coming up on the Northern Highway or the Philip Golson Highway, on the George Rice Highway, here on the Boulevard. You know, these are the areas that people go out to do their shopping. They no longer shop downtown. It has changed. Downtown is now becoming an area for offices, not for them kind of businesses. So the issue with Bottom Dollar is not something that just happened overnight. For some years now, it is something that it's gradually. And when I met with Santi, he said, listen, this has nothing to do with the government. He said the market conditions has changed. When was the last time you went into Augusto Kwan?
I can't tell you that I ever went into
But
Augusto
you've been
Kwan.
to Belize?
Right.
Again, market conditions have changed. Augusto Kwan, unfortunately, did not keep up with the changes that were happening in the market. modernizing, and also even the location. You know, when you go down that area, what are your biggest problem? Parking. Where you park? But the Belize, you have big open space to park. Even Brother Sabet have space next to them, you know, a yard that they bought where people could go and park. So it is not about the government. It is not about the government. The economy is growing. Investments are going. Listen, we have had the highest level of investments from since 2020, from 2010. The IMF pointed out, not myself, the IMF, that under the UDP, those 13 years, the economy contracted. I think it's about a little under 2%, contracted, never grow, it gets smaller. Here we're in 2.5 years, the economy has gone about 30%. These are some amazing numbers. Whilst the UDP tries to cloud everything, oh, the cost of living, yes, we know the cost of living, yes, we feel it, and yes, we're trying to do everything possible. But when you look all around you, the economy has grown and more people are working.
Well, added to that, though, is the issue of the fuel prices. Because if we're looking at a country where a majority of what we sell are items that we import, well, you have to tack on the cost of fuel. And some would say, if you look around, fuel has been, in a sense, regularized in other countries, but it still costs an arm and a leg in Belize.
Well,
and
the price has been, to be fair, the price have been going down. And also, to be fair, we did point out that last year we gave up over $35 million in taxes just from fuel. And the former Prime Minister, I'm sure, would have to admit that that fuel is one of their largest revenue earners. So we have been bringing it down slowly. I wish we could do it faster, but we also have to have the other areas in the economy to catch up so that we could be able to offset the losses in the revenues. I think what's important to point out that presently right now we have been charging less duties under this government than what was being charged under the UDP. The acquisition cost has gone up, and nobody can't argue about that. But again, when you make the difference between the UDP of 2020 to the PUP of now, you could see a stark difference. The former Prime Minister was weeping about Belize and, you know, après-mi or whatever his French term that he used, which 99% of Belizeans did not understand. He was weeping for Belize, and here we are a party of hope, a government that's creating opportunities, that are changing things around. And that, when have you seen our government now that we have been uplifted not only nationally but even internationally, where we're being asked, every week I'm being asked to go and give a speech somewhere in the world. Last week, Mia Motley was asking to please go to Barbados to go and talk about the Belize experience of what we have been done. You know, I was in Korea, I was in Brussels, you know, and I'm going there to work, you know, and right now for the General Assembly, the United Nations General Assembly, I would not be able to stay for that, but I'll go in for the Sustainable Development Goals. And during that time, the NGO community, they're having a big meeting and they want me to be one of their featured speakers. So people want to hear what we've been doing. People want to know about it's almost like an economic miracle that we have done in such a short time.
Yep. Allow me to go in a slightly different direction here. I want to touch on the issue of the recent ruling of the High Court in respect of the Sugar Industry Act. You are a Canero, you come from a long line of cane farmers in the north, and I'm certain that you are aware of what's been taking place in the industry up north. Let's get your take initially on that particular ruling and what it means for the state of play in the sugar industry.
Well, I have not gotten a full briefing, and I'm hoping in Cabinet both the Attorney General and the Minister of Agriculture will be able to give us a full briefing as to what is happening. I was very disappointed actually with the ruling. I believe that associations are very important in industries because it allows the membership of within that industry can have a voice or a stronger voice as a group. So I hope that we can find a way how we can continue to work with the associations and the government and BSI. To me, what is encouraging is that BSI has sent message to us that listen, we want to work with the cane farmers of Belize. We want to work with the government of Belize. We want to ensure see how we can increase production. This year, we're going to have some of the highest prices we've been paid in a very long time for sugar cane. It's unfortunate that the Belize Cane Farmers Sugar Association, BSCFA, has not found a way to settle or to come up with an agreement with BSI. We have tried our level best to get them around the table. We've done everything we possibly can, but can't seem that we can get there. I'm hoping that that with this ruling will give another opportunity to be able to find how we could arrange that.
Would we agree that certain aspects of the law, as it is antiquated and is in dire need of a revision?
Well, yes, it is, and both the cane farmers associations, because there's more than one, have been asking that we need to modernize the law. The last time it was reviewed was during our UP government in 2001. That's about 22 years ago. Yeah. So it needs to be revised. It needs to be looked at. At that time, there's only one sugar mill. Now we have 2 sugar mills. At that time, we had 1 association. Now I think we have 4 associations. So it has changed. And now it's more private sector driven. So we have to ensure how is it that can work, that partnership between the cane farmers and BSI or the miller can work along with the government. And so we do have to find how we can best work for the interests of everyone.
Is it then that plans to establish a commission to look at the modernization of the industry is still
yes, it is. Actually, the Minister Mai is bringing it up back on the table for cabinet discussion for the actual appointment. Because what we did earlier, I had appointed a cabinet subcommittee headed by Minister Musa to be able to see if he can find, the group could find both sides to try to come together. But it did not work as we expected. We had some success, but not the level of success that was necessary.
Nothing usually works between when it comes to the tensions between BSCFA and the mill. And BSCFA and BSI. We've seen a number of attempts fail over the years. Just quickly to get back to the ruling to ask a question, because one of the rulings was the levies in terms of the management or administrative arm of the industry, SICB, and their associates, that those levies were unconstitutional. And we're not talking about the tax, etc. We're talking about the operational fees that the mill was being asked to fund for the SICB, or the management administrative arm of the industry. Will this now require the government to step in and seek to find new ways for funding this administrative and management arm?
Of course, the government has to find a way how we can fund this administrative arm, because it is very important, the service that they provide. So we have to find a way. We can get it from the General Conciliation Revenue Fund. We will be able to find it from one way or the other. So there are ways of how we can be able to deal with this. It would have been smoother or easier if we've kept it the way it has been for all these years, because it has worked well, I think, and it has served the industry well, and by extension Belize. But the judge feels that it was unconstitutional, as you pointed out. Tomorrow, I hope to get a better feel to what exactly was done, or what was what the judge ruled. I'm told some kind of, in some areas it was not very clear as to exactly what was ruled. So we have to find a way how we can address it. But the important thing is that there is, I think that there's a genuine feel or want for both sides, both in this instance is BSCFA and BSI, to find a way how they could settle this, their differences. We felt that with the Commission of Inquiry, that would be a good opportunity to be able to listen to the millers, listen to the cane farmers, the associations, bring in experts to be able to talk what's the future of sugar, and what is the best ways, what are the best practices, what more areas we need to be able to modernize, how we can increase efficiencies not only in the fields but also in the delivery and also in the production of sugar. So there are all of these areas that we wanted to take a look at. We're hoping that by having now appointing the Commission of Inquiry, we can then, and we're giving the Commission of Inquiry 6 months, whereas you go on forever, to be able to come up with some set of reasonable recommendations to be able to help in the modernization of the industry.
PM, how would you describe the present investment climate in Belize? I ask because there's a lot going on in terms of new businesses, in terms of perhaps foreign direct investment opportunities and what have you. But in some regards, things seem to be somewhat clouded. We're looking at, for instance, a situation where you have Portico, you have Port of Belize, you have State Bank, and the entire matter of the definitive agreement, and now what seems to be a law that you're soon to pass. Where are we with that in the context of the general investment climate?
It took you 35 minutes to bring up that matter.
I give you enough to talk with everything else.
Yes,
Here we are.
Give me the rope, right? Listen, I think that the investment climate in Belize is very good. It's excellent. It's high. There's a lot of interest of investment, of people wanting to invest in Belize, both local and foreigners. I mean, everywhere you go, you can see that. I don't think I need to convince you that you can see that for yourself. And that is why we felt it was important to be able to have another investment summit, which we'll have again in San Pedro on the 30th to the 1st of September. And I'm urging you all to attend. Then you can see there for yourself the amount of buzz that Belize have generated both locally and abroad. I don't think there's much more that I can say on the issue of the definitive agreement with Portico. That is a UDP government agreement. We did not sign that. We haven't done anything with it. And I'm disappointed with the NG senators, the NGO senators, when they say, oh, they want to also investigate the government. That's the problem. When you try to be, or you are so neutral, you ended up looking foolish. And I say that as respectfully as I can, especially with Ms. Chanona, who is a person, well, we know who wrote it. I wish she would be brave enough to say who wrote it. We know who wrote that it was written for her. But Ms. Chanona knows very well that we haven't done anything. We did not pass the law. If we brought it to cabinet, so what? To discuss, yes, we bring everything to cabinet. And the cabinet said, no, we can't support this. So there's nothing more I could say. What we've done is saying that this agreement, the Portico, the way it has been structured, cannot work. But now here we have huge two multinationals, Royal Caribbean and Boscalis, reputable companies. They're saying they want to invest in this company. Royal Caribbean have said it openly. They have looked at the three projects, and of the three projects, they believe that this is the one that they believe that they could best invest. It's not the government of Belize saying that. All along we've said that we will let the private sector decide which one can work. But before you can do that, you need to pass the NIAC. You have to get your environmental clearance. They got their environmental clearance before our time, and now that they have two huge investors that are prepared to invest with this port. So, and guess what? Even though we've said that we will not commit to the definitive agreement, they have not said, oh, we will walk away. They're saying, fine, okay, let's see how this thing can work out. So we're coming up with an investment piece of legislation that I believe, I'm hoping that we'll be able to address this matter.
How does it bode for the other two players, though? Because if we're talking Portico in this instance, there is still Waterloo, there is still Stake Bank, and the Belize District Harbor, so to speak, where one, Waterloo is saying that the chips were stacked against it from the beginning, and two, Stake Bank seems to be dead in the water in a manner of speaking.
But we have supported, we've given the support that we have Stake Bank. If the main investor were to be honest, and he would have to admit that we have supported them. We have supported them, but we cannot force the cruise lines to tell them, well, you have to go there. Actually, ironically, he was the one that went to court to challenge the exclusivity that they had at the 4th Street cruise terminal, and it was ruled unconstitutional. So now how could anybody expect that they could have an exclusivity? As to Waterloo, I've said it over and over, once they pass the NIAC, once they get the approval, who are we to tell them you can't invest? But they have not, and again, if they want to be fair, they have not passed that, they did not give sufficient information and evidence to the NIAC, as I've been made to understand, to be able to get the approval.
Well,
and the NIAC is not run only by government. You have the NGO community there too, and they did not support it either.
You would realize and perhaps appreciate the irony in this case, though, because when Waterloo presents all the documents that they were able to put together in terms of seeking the clearance, in terms of the EIA and everything that had to do with their consultation process, versus the one that Portico put forward, which was fairly thin, it would seem as though one went above and beyond versus the other one merely met the threshold.
You need to photocopy 100 pages, 1,000 pages my report. I say, man, look at my big report, when there's not much there. And I'm not suggesting that in that case. You don't go to a report because of the size of the papers, the amount of pages that they give. What it is based on the information that's provided.
But it's safe to say that a lot of technical...
One of the biggest challenges that Waterloo had or continue to have, as I'm told, and I'm not the expert, and I have not interviewed the members of NIAC, so I want to make it very clear, is the issue of what they're doing with all the dredging material that they don't want to put it on land. They want to keep it first. They were going to dump it just out in the sea, and then they say, okay, well, we're going to try to put it near shore. And I don't think they convinced the members of the NIAC to say that that was safe. And I want to leave it as that.
PM, I quickly want to get into another topic, that of municipal governance. Isani and I were discussing earlier, and it seems as if the political/campaign season is ramping up for municipal elections, which is scheduled for only a few short months ahead.
In
right?
March
next year. Let's talk about your general overview of the People's United Party's performance at the municipal level, understanding that you are the majority in the municipals across the country. Is the People's United Party losing hold of certain municipalities? There are questions in Belmopan, and there's certainly even some questions to that end in Belize City.
Well, it's difficult. We have set the bar so high because in the last election we only lost one mayoral candidate, mayorship, and one town councillor. So if we lose one more, you could say, oh, they're losing grounds. So we have set the bar high. We'll do everything possible to continue to hold on to that kind of, or that level of support. And I believe that we have been doing, providing the level of services that our citizens expect from us. With the little resources that we've had, we've been managing to reorganize, to help to reorganize many of the municipal bodies, and they've been providing even a better service than they were from before. But things change. It is more difficult to be able to, you have certain, some supporters that are disappointed, they never get a piece of land, or they don't get a house, or they don't get a job, or whatever it is. So when election comes, they say, oh, well, then you never do this for you, I don't vote for you. So that's part of politics. I mean, as I said now, I always remember when the surprise first told me long time ago, George Price said, el diablo no es sabio por ser diablo, pero por ser viejo. The devil is not a genius because he's a devil, but because he's old. Well, I'm in 30 years in politics, so now I could better understand the dynamics of politics. And that it's difficult to keep everybody in line for whatever reasons, some are merited, some are not. Overall, we believe that we're still going to do well. Overall, we believe that we're going to win a majority of the big majority of the municipalities. Overall, I believe that people are still satisfied with the level of work that we've been doing both nationally and locally. And lastly, I believe that we generally have better candidates than what the UDP has been proposing so far.
My wild card question here then is, how soundly do you sleep at night, considering the fact that there are all of these changes that are taking place on the ground at any given moment? Politics is a very unique animal unto itself. While you're super confident today, tomorrow things could very well change in a heartbeat.
As you say, in politics, a day is a lifetime. No?
Precisely.
So, yeah, but thankfully, you think a wood right there could knock on me. Always sleep on the ground. I sleep well. I don't have problems with sleeping. I guess by the time I get to bed, I'm so tired, I just close my eyes and I go sleep till I wake up.
Did you get any rest last night after seeing
the
support that the UDP was able to muster during their leadership endorsement convention?
No, I did not sleep. I was so concerned. Really, first of all, I never watched it. But from the reports I got, it was poorly attended. The other report is that it was orchestrated for the leader to try to see how he could look big because of supposedly there's some production that is wrong in town. Production, they claim that they're doing something for Disney. We don't know if it's Disney, but the American production companies are trying to go and sell their product. But so be it. But I'm told, this is lavish stage and so forth. And I think one news caster was saying that the parade was held back to try to put the crowd so that then the videographers can get footage. All of that is all set up, and that's fine by them, but what does that mean to the people on the ground? You're fooling yourself when you can come and say, oh, we had this big production and look at the people, when you know deep down that you did not. You're fooling yourself because you can't fool the rest of the people. Make a comparison of the PUP in 2010 when I was a leader and the UDP of 2023 right now under Mr. Barrow or Shine Barrow. In 2010 in October we had our convention. After biggest defeat the PUP had ever had. And we mobilized close to 15,000 people in Dangriga. And we have the footage to show. Thousands of people, I mean buses after buses. We couldn't get enough buses for the people that wanted to come. And we never had the funding, so it was very, very tough for us. Dangriga ran out of food, ran out of beer, ran out of soft drink, ran out of everything because they could not hold the amount of people that was there. So here they are now, 2.5 years, and one of the richest Belizeans have been funding them. And I know I mentioned name, has been funding them. And with all of that money, look at their performance. That speaks for itself.
All right. Well, PM, as usual, it's a pleasure having these discussions with you. I'm sure we could go on, and there's many more things we could address, but we want to thank you for taking your time out to join us this morning to respond to the many questions on these various topics.
Party Sunny, again, thank you very much for having me wake up so early in the morning at 5 o'clock. But it's important to be here to be able to speak with you, and you know, not all the time it has to be tough or hard, but also the good things about sports. Listen, we even touch about, look at this summer. We had so many events happening all across this country. Some of the athletes, exactly. Belizean athletes are doing well. When did that happen? When was the last time you saw that? That never happened over the past 13 years of the UDP. And not only that, we had summer camps. I mean, I just finished our summer camp in San Esteban. I still managed to keep up with the kids. They jump up. And all over the country, you see activities happening for our young people. And we need to highlight that to show, look at what's going on in this country. It's a country of energy, a country of hope, and a country of optimism. And that's what the People's United Party government represents. So once again, guys, thank you so much. Thanks.
Next time, I think we just need to just allot the 3 segments to you, and we'll talk about everything we could.
No, you have to have your other people. But thanks again, guys. Yes. Wish you all the best. To Belizeans all over, you know, God blessing on us. We live in a jewel. Sometimes we don't understand how blessed we are, but it's a wonderful country to live in. The only one I have, the only one I want to live in.
There we go. All right.
Thanks, guys.
That was our discussion with Prime Minister John Briceno. With that, we'll take a break. And when we come back, it's all about the Citizen Participation Project from the Office of the Auditor General. So stay tuned.